I'm Andrew. I love facts, so there's going to be a few coming at you. There'll be on various things like awkwardness and awesomeness, autism, Austrians, and asparagus. You might have noticed that they all start with the letter A. You might have also noticed that they were in reverse alphabetical order. There's a reason for that. It's not that I'm autistic and collect collections of words that start with the same letter and then reverse alphabet order them. I just wanted to look clever. At least at the start of these 5 minutes. I am autistic though. It's not catching. Also, just on a side note before we go on, vaccines don't cause autism, right? But you should still get your kids vaccinated, even if you can't make them autistic by getting them vaccinated. Okay? So I am autistic. I got diagnosed about 10 years ago. And when I got diagnosed, they diagnosed me as being Asperger's. So Asperger's, named after Dr. Hans Asperger, which brings me to talk about Austrians, because he was one, and he was the first person who correctly recognised that autism is a spectrum, which perturbed me a bit because I always enjoyed the Commodore as a kid and not the Spectrum, but here we are. So it was a spectrum, and it goes from people who are completely non-communicative and non-verbal at one end of it to people who just won't shut up at the other end and have awkward, one-sided conversations, a bit like this. So that was quite awesome, to have that, and for Hans Asperger to do that. And then in 2017, we found out that he diagnosed kids with autistic psychopathy and then sent them to death camps in Nazi Germany. So that's a bit awkward, really. It's two sides to every Austrian, ladies and gentlemen. Another Austrian, thankfully there's a few, another Austrian, he's the undisputed world heavyweight champion at DIY. He managed to build an entire second home underneath his house without planning permission, without building consent, without his wife even noticing. That's an achievement that's quite awesome. Then he got his eldest daughter, moved her into this second home against her will, and had 7 children with her across the next 28 years. So that's a bit awkward. Two sides to every Austrian. There's a final Austrian I'd like to tell you about who was an almost client of mine. She had this thing that would reunite people with their estranged pets. So that's quite awesome. And I met her just after being diagnosed. So I wanted to do something about the stigma around autism. And I said to her, I disclosed to her, I said, Andrea, I think a bit differently than most people. I'm Asperger's. And she went, oh, that's okay. I just call it asparagus. I said, autism doesn't make your pee stink. And then I said, listen, there's 2 groups of people, right? So black people can tell jokes about being black. Gay people can tell jokes about being gay. Autistic people can tell jokes about being autistic. The only thing that you can tell jokes about, Andrea, is being an insensitive cunt.